We're effectively seeing the reinvention of the internet as we know it, and not adapting to it is like refusing to use email back in the early 2000s. The last data I saw was that there's about 5 billion ChatGPT searches happening every day,
Wow. Okay.
but there's 80 billion Google searches happening every day.
Okay. Sure. Welcome to another episode of Cup of Joe. I'm very, very excited to have Kieran Chrysler, our team lead of SEO and Geo, with us today. So Kieran, you just got back from the UK. You were at the Brighton SEO conference. Tell us a little bit about kind of what that conference is and why it was important for you to go.
So I think it was really interesting because historically, when I've attended marketing conferences, there is always an SEO talk, but it generally is not super specific to the industry or to SEOs in particular. A lot of the time it's explaining to marketers who might not be super well versed in SEO, kind of some details about it, but they don't get super granular on the information they're sharing. So what I really loved about this conference and why I would love to go back one day is just on the first day, it was right into it. Everyone kind of had the same baseline knowledge and the information was so much more detailed than I think I've ever heard before of SEO. Like I learned so much and it was amazing.
Cool. So with that being said, with a lot of these conferences not necessarily being focused on SEOs and maybe digital marketers, but people who might be like kind of evolving into the digital marketing space, some of our viewers might be those individuals. So can you tell me what SEO actually is to start everything off?
Absolutely. So SEO is search engine optimization.
Okay.
So historically, what SEO has been is trying to appear highly in search engines like Google. So the goal of an SEO program is that your business or your brand is showing up number one when people are searching for services that you offer. So assisted living in Denver, I would like to be one of the top appearances on that search engine.
Sure.
She's evolving though all the time. So
Tell me about the evolution.
I think it's interesting seeing buyer behavior changing now that we have these AI-powered chatbots like the ChatGPTs, the Geminis, Perplexity. There's so many of them now. But we're really just seeing people are able to search in different places now. So while the search traffic isn't going away, Google is no longer the only player in the search game like they have been for the last 20 years. So we're really seeing an evolution of what people want when they are seeking information online.
So, and to bring this back, your title is team lead of SEO and Geo. What is Geo? What does that mean? Is that geofencing? What are you talking about?
So Geo or GEO, depending on who you're talking to, is generative engine optimization. Okay. Essentially, it boils down to optimizations made that target a AI chatbot, LLM, generative engine specifically, versus traditional SEO, which has been focused mainly on a Google or Bing results page. So there's a lot of people calling it different things right now. I've heard search everywhere optimization, so SEO still. I've heard AIO for AI overview or AI optimization. I would argue the general market is trending towards asking us questions about what are we doing for Geo. So that's kind of my take on the how we should call it for now, but open to changing.
You're open to changing based on what the market tells us.
Yeah, it's just so new right now. Like we're effectively seeing the reinvention of the internet as we know it, and not adapting to it is like refusing to use email back in the early 2000s. So we need to be aware of it. We are working to optimize for it. We're trying to build products that lead into it and optimize for it, but it's just so fresh. And frankly, every 3 months, things are different within it. So a lot of it is just staying aware of what's happening and adapting as we need to.
You mentioned that search volume is changing based on where people are actually searching, and whether or not they're coming from the LLMs or if they're coming from search engines and different things like that. How much search volume is actually coming onto LLMs, and what is an LLM?
For sure. So an LLM is a large language model. So it's essentially a program that's been trained on human text to generate human-like answers. This is slightly different than a generative engine because a generative engine can just create brand new content. So ChatGPT can be considered a generative engine, but it's also an LLM, but something that creates only video or image content would be a generative engine.
Oh, okay. So because ChatGPT can create both text as well as images and different avenues like that, it could be considered kind of a hybrid.
It's kind of both.
Okay.
I know that there would be some technical people that might disagree with me on that, but for all intents and purposes,
Okay.
they're similar and we're targeting the same thing when we say we're optimizing for both.
Amazing. And so to go back to the initial question, like what level of search volume is actually happening on these?
For sure.
platforms?
It's still fresh. So I can tell you the last data I saw was that there's about 5 billion ChatGPT searches happening every day,
Wow. Okay.
but there's 80 billion Google searches happening every day.
Okay. Fair.
So it's definitely not a zero amount. And it's clearly a huge number still, like 5 billion searches is massive, but it's not quite at the level that people are using Google to search.
Mm.
And I think what the most interesting thing is if someone is primarily using ChatGPT, 90% of those users are also performing a Google search.
Okay. Interesting. So SEO is not dead.
Absolutely not.
Okay. All right. Cool. So
I've heard people say it's deprecated because it's maybe not new and able to be, it's not the main player anymore. But I don't know if I fully agree with that yet, especially considering the senior living industry. Most people, most users in senior living are still going to be focused on Google, just demographics wise.
fair. With that being said, as we evolve more and more into the AI world, what should we be looking at from a senior living community's website and avenues like that to increase our rankings on these LMS?
Absolutely. I think something to think about is as we get farther and farther into users primarily going to something like ChatGPT or Gemini to start their research on a topic, they're going to prioritize finding as much information as possible within the LLM or the AI chatbot that they're using.
Okay.
So if, for example, I know that I'm supporting my mother, find a senior living community for her mother, I would start on ChatGPT to get kind of the granular details of every business around me,
Mhm.
because if you search for all of the senior living communities in your city, it's most likely going to give you a comparison of each one of those communities.
Sure.
And you want any information about your community to be as up to date as possible so that that is pulled authentically within that information that ChatGPT would be serving the end user.
Okay, so SEO, sorry, I should say organic ranking could be a little bit more biased due to the fact that you're getting the content directly from the website. And of course, if you're the one writing the website, you're pretty much like the straight up swim fan of the organization. Whereas when you go to the LLM, you're getting unbiased, authentic content because it's not just pulling it from the website, it's pulling it from across the web.
Yes, I would say so.
Okay.
The issue becomes is your content authentic and up to date everywhere that it's being pulled from
Okay.
is something to consider. I know that I have seen in my research several communities that may not have pricing listed on their website, for example,
Mm.
but the bot that has scraped content from across the website about that brand has pulled in a pricing information from somewhere that is not up to date or not even within the realm of what the actual pricing information is.
Okay, so that's a great point. So one of the things that we find with third-party referral organizations and different websites like that is if they have pricing information on it, that will actually show up on ChatGPT or wherever the individual is searching. And in many situations, that content is wrong. So what I've been telling our clients is, people are looking for this information, and you want to make sure that that information is accurate. So make sure that it's accurate on your website, and then from there, uh, the idea is that it will be accurate on places like ChatGPT. In some situations, they're finding $2,500 a month for a community, and it's pulling from some random area that's not necessarily accurate. So
Yeah, and that's the frustrating thing is that a lot of the time there's citations or information about your community somewhere and you don't even know it's there
interesting.
because there's so many directory sites that have just kind of spun up seeing how the business model for like a place for mom or something like that. So I've experienced communities that they are finding their reviews when asking ChatGPT about the business are super low because it's pulling reviews from some site they didn't even know existed.
Fair.
So it's like, it's a helpful tool to understand where you're being talked about on the internet, and it's exposing blind spots that may not have been there before.
So over the last couple of years, when it comes to SEO, of course, citations have always been important. It sounds like they're still important now with geo. Tell me a little bit about backlinks. As time has gone over the last 4 or 5 years, we've seen backlinks get more and more expensive. They're good quality backlinks, and therefore sometimes it's actually not necessarily worth the investment in different avenues like that. Do you see the avenue still continuing that way, or are we bringing backlinks back? What does that look like?
Backlinks are tricky because I think from the SEO side of things, a lot of the time backlinks have been used to kind of just game where your business is being talked about. But because of how the AI models search, if you have your website listed on a site that has nothing to do with senior living, for example, that's not going to improve your reputation because it will just see, okay, you're in a list of businesses on this random website that has no authority in the senior living space. Because the benefit to ChatGPT and the LLMs, I've been finding at least, is that it knows the niche that you're looking for at a given time. So even if you dial it back a little bit, I'm looking for a white t-shirt, it's going to show me clothing companies and not like a Etsy type situation, right? So the backlinks in that sense are not helpful. However, I think we're transitioning more to a digital PR format of backlinks. So rather than just having yourself listed on sites that have nothing to do with your industry, if you are talked about positively in publications that make sense, that is the future of backlinks. And those are going to be more expensive and harder to gain. But you can't deny the benefit of being listed in somewhere that's like an industry specific publication when they're speaking about your brand positively.
Amazing. Over the years, we've always said content is king. Has anything changed there?
Absolutely not. I would argue the only difference is that you want to have absolutely everything that could possibly be said about your business listed on your website, from the most granular details about the kind of events that you host, for example, because an AI model like ChatGPT or Gemini is going to also have the awareness of everything that it knows about a user, because any chat that you have within ChatGPT it will remember about you. So for example, for me, it knows that I made a workout plan with a specific piece of exercise equipment that I own. So if I'm having an unrelated conversation, it knows that it can pull it in.
Interesting. So one of the big things that we always kind of take a look at when we're building out our marketing strategy, of course, is that brand story that we're telling for the organization and things like that. And obviously, one of the biggest places to tell that brand story is the website, but it's not the only place. And, it's social media and different avenues like that. When it comes to these LLMs and your focus on AI, how important is it to still have up-to-date social media strategies and different avenues like that? Or is it more focused directly on that site?
It's more important than ever to have your brand talked about in as many channels as possible.
Okay.
I think with what we found with SEO is I always knew that if I make really specific changes on a senior living community, I can have them listed in the #1 spot in Google within about 3 months.
Wow.
However, that is not necessarily the case with the LLMs because it is factoring in your brand story across the internet from every place it can pull from. So if you're a community and you're listed #1 in your region on Google, just because we have perfectly optimized your website so you appear there, if you don't have good Google reviews, if you don't have an active social media channel where people are engaging with your content, if you're not positively talked about in industry publications, you will have a harder time showing up highly in a ranking in an AI powered search.
Very interesting. Cool. I know that nobody knows the future of AI and every avenue that we can basically be marketing in. But for you, like, what is your main focus on where you think things are going to be going, and what are you going to be bringing your team up to speed on as time goes on?
I think there's two things that I expect to be coming in the next year that I think are exciting. So I know ChatGPT specifically is testing the ability to make purchases within the ChatGPT interface. So if I am shopping for that white t-shirt, they want to get to a point where they don't have to have you leave the LLM. So you will be able to add to cart and make a purchase within that window instead of going to the website. For senior living, where I foresee that is if you're having this very long interaction with ChatGPT or Gemini talking about the kind of senior living community you want, there could be a future where people could book a tour within that chat instead of going to your website and using your own chat form. So that's kind of interesting and something I would like to see how it evolves. The other thing that is coming is we kind of talked about brand. Having a strong brand presence as a community is no longer it's a non-negotiable. So you cannot have just a website or one part of marketing that you're focusing on, because the LLMs are going to be pulling information from all kinds of different places.
Yeah.
So you need to have a consistent brand story appearing in every channel that you're marketing in.
Very cool. All right. So obviously one of the main features of these generative engines is to create great content. Are there avenues that we feel like this could negatively affect the brand in any way?
It was a conversation when the LLMs first came on the scene and people realized they could create content very quickly and efficiently with ChatGPT as the example. The original guidance was do not create AI generated content because our algorithms will know and will deprioritize it.
Sure.
Every AI checker doesn't really work super well.
Okay.
OpenAI specifically deprecated theirs pretty quickly because they realized it wasn't super effective. So it's not a matter of don't use it to create content, but you still want to create content that is going to be helpful for a human end user. So part of that comes down to if you are, for example, creating a blog, you don't want to have it be one paragraph or not actually helpful content or incorrect content. You still want it to be well thought out, give a lot of very good information to an end user, and answer their question as efficiently as possible.
Interesting. Okay. So obviously we still want humans to be involved in that content, like
Absolutely.
we would with any generative content. We want to make sure that some human is actually putting their stamp of
Exactly.
approval on it, make sure that it's good content.
Yeah, there's stats that say that the best performing content generally is AI assisted, not AI written. And there's always a human touch point in it because the LLMs create fantastic content, but they are still programmed machines that might not have every human nuance that is present when a person is creating and having touch points on content.
Very cool. Kieran, if nobody from HR was listening and we were just hanging out, just the two of us, you could create your title to be whatever it is, what should your title actually be?
VP of AI search.
VP of AI search. I dig it. President of AI search.
Sure.
Chief President Officer.
Chief President of AI search and having fun at work.
Love it. Kieran Chrysler, thank you so much for all the great information and for joining us on Cup of Joe. To our viewers, if you want to get in touch with myself or Kieran, you can go through our website, citizen55.com. My phone number directly is 403-903-3703, or you can email me at joe@citizen55.com. We have lots and lots of plans for Kieran to be up on stage at many conferences in 2026. So please feel free to reach out to us and see where we're going to be. Thank you so much.
Bye.